How's it going, everyone? My name is Dan, but you can call me Malone. And if you've ever watched personal finance content on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram, make sure you stick around until the end of this video. The inspiration for today's video comes from recent data by the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. Their survey results found that nearly 40% of Americans under the age of 65 get their financial advice online and from social media. And more than 60% of that group say they have made financial decisions based on that online content. Clearly, we as a society are relying more and more on social media for all of our information, including personal finance. In this video, I'm going to discuss the problems with online personal finance content and what you can do as a viewer to protect yourself. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you're new around here, consider subscribing to the channel. Every financial decision must be made in the context of you as an individual. Personal finance is not one size fits all, and there are many factors which differentiate your set of circumstances from the content creators. The investing journey doesn't start with an investment. It starts with analyzing the following 4 headings: needs and objectives. Everyone is going to have differing needs for cash, as well as differing objectives for what they'd like to do with that cash. It's crucial that you're crystal clear on what your own needs for cash are. The best way to do that is to start viewing your income as a means of fulfilling 2 specific demands for cash: transactions demand and precautionary demand. I have a full video explaining these concepts in detail, but in short, transactions demand refers to the cash we need to pay our expenses, and precautionary demand refers to the cash we keep in our bank accounts in case of emergency. Once you start viewing your cash as fulfilling these demands, it becomes a lot clearer on how much excess cash you have available for investment. Now, when looking at investing your cash, you need to define your objectives. What is it you want to achieve by investing? Is it a healthy nest egg for retirement, for buying a home, or for education? Or is it a more short-term goal like increasing your money by X% in Y amount of time? One of the key outcomes here is to define how long we plan on holding our investments for. Personal circumstances. One of the biggest mistakes that viewers of personal finance content make is that they fail to understand that the content creator has a completely different set of personal circumstances to them. Everything from your age, your health, your knowledge and experience, your family status, and your employment status is going to influence what you should and shouldn't be investing in. For example, if you're nearing retirement, it's generally not wise to have all of your money invested in equities. Equally, if you're in your early 20s, it wouldn't make a whole pile of sense to be invested exclusively in government bonds. So while a content creator may talk about a particular cryptocurrency or stock that he or she may or may not have conviction in, you can't take that to be gospel. Even if the creator's rationale is sound, the appropriateness of the investment in the context of your own personal circumstances must be considered. Financial situation. You also need to consider your current and likely future financial situation. We mentioned earlier the need for having savings put away in case of emergency. Other considerations might include the status of your retirement accounts. Have you started investing into your pension, and are you aware of the benefits of doing so? If not, it may be wise to first maximize your pension investments before making investments elsewhere. What is your current relationship with debt? If you have short-term loans outstanding, it should be a priority to get those loans paid off as soon as possible because they're very expensive. And finally, what can you do to increase your income? Your biggest asset is your ability to earn money. The more money you earn, the more money available for investment. Attitude to risk. Last but certainly not least, you need to consider your attitude to risk. Investing does not come without risk, and if you're not willing to accept that the value of your investment can decrease as well as increase, then you shouldn't be investing. You need to be okay with your investments falling in value. However, the extent to which you're okay with that fact is going to depend on everything else we've just discussed regarding your personal situation. The important thing to remember is that the most surefire way to lose money is to keep it all in a bank account. So we do need to invest. We do need to get comfortable with the idea of our investments fluctuating in value, and we do need to have an idea of how comfortable we are with that fact. Based on that, we can then craft an investing strategy which makes sense for us as individuals. The majority of personal finance content creators are not qualified or experienced enough to be talking seriously about personal finance. As a viewer, if you're consuming this content with the intention of acting on it or using it as a source of information, then you need to be sure that who you're watching is credible. I personally have 4 years experience in financial services and 3 recognized professional qualifications. This doesn't make me an expert, but I'm able to talk about personal finance at a high standard, and I can focus on what I think is important to understand based on my experience. But credibility is subjective, and I'm in no way saying that only those who are qualified should be allowed to make personal finance content. It's more important that you do your research on who you're watching so that you have all the facts in order to make an informed decision on whether or not you believe the creator to be credible. The reason why I'm highlighting this is because I know that many viewers use online content as a basis for making decisions. And while I'd never recommend making a financial decision based solely on one person's opinion on the internet, I equally can't stop you from doing so. Just know that if the person on the other side of the screen wanted to operate as a legitimate financial advisor, they'd not only need to have the necessary qualifications, but they'd also need to go through a rigorous regulatory process by the supervising financial authority in whatever country they operate. If you can understand that, you'll understand why credibility is important. It's important that you as a viewer understand the reality of making personal finance content. One of the biggest challenges that finance creators face is that the actual content we're discussing in its raw form is uninteresting and boring to most. So in order to build an audience and to drive viewer retention, naturally the videos need to be entertaining. So that begs the question of how you make personal finance content entertaining. The general trend I've noticed is that many creators tend to focus on short-term content for attracting viewers. I define short-term content as content which is based solely on the latest investment trends with arbitrary comments by the creator on those trends. This content is generally accompanied by a clickbait title and thumbnail with the creator's opinion on how much the investment value will multiply. In my opinion, this type of content does not have much educational value and should be seen as a form of entertainment more than anything. The reason why is because nobody knows where the price of any investment is going to go today, tomorrow, next month, or next year. Therefore, any comments on trending news and its potential impact on individual investments boils down to speculation and nothing more. I do accept that there are biases in my opinion, given that I don't make content on individual investments, but I fundamentally believe there is more educational value in understanding the principles of personal finance rather than speculating on short-term price movements. Understanding why you're doing what you're doing is the secret to success in investing. So as a viewer, you need to decide what type of personal finance content you want to watch and what you want to get out of that content. Your time is valuable, and if you're going to invest some of it watching personal finance content, do yourself a favor and make sure it's worth your time. One factor that is constantly overlooked by viewers of personal finance content is the location of the content creator. If you're watching content which is discussing the rules applicable to a certain topic by a content creator who is not from your country, then it's highly likely that you're wasting your time. What you need to understand is that every country is different when it comes to matters such as tax, retirement planning, and what you can and can't invest in. However, this shouldn't be confused with content that discusses the principles underpinning topics like tax and retirement planning. Because while the specific rules might differ from country to country, the principles underpinning the rules are generally the same globally. This comes back to the idea of understanding why you're doing what you're doing. With all of that being said, what is the responsibility of the creator and of the viewer when it comes to personal finance content? YouTube is, in my opinion, an entertainment platform first and foremost. It's a place where creatives can express themselves in video format and build an audience who support what they do. Personal finance content is no different. I don't believe that content creators have a literal responsibility to their viewers, provided their content doesn't suggest otherwise. Most content creators will clearly state that their content shouldn't be construed as advice. And while I don't support short-term content as I called it earlier, it's within the YouTuber's right to produce that content if he or she wants to, regardless of how valuable it may or may not be. Building an audience on YouTube takes time, and the best way to do it is to create meaningful, value-adding content. So if a YouTuber is failing his or her audience by not making high-quality content, then the audience will just leave. The responsibility falls on you, the viewer, to be able to identify what content is and isn't worth your time. The reason why so many of these clickbait personal finance channels are successful is because people are obsessed with the idea of getting rich quick. So it's illogical to be annoyed at the content creator when things inevitably go bad. You get what you pay for. I absolutely do not agree with unethical and deceptive practices by content creators where content is produced for the sole purpose of individual gain. But again, personal finance content creators are not the same as financial advisors, and they are not held to the same standards. Bad creators will keep getting away with producing bad content so long as you continue to watch it. The crux of this problem lies in the failings of the traditional education system and in the lackluster performance of the various bodies responsible for financial education and consumer protection. There is no denying that people need to be learning about personal finance from a young age. The reason why is because successful investing dictates that the earlier you start, the better your returns will be in the long term. This is all rooted in the principles of compound interest. But because people aren't exposed to financial education, they miss years of valuable investing. As well as this, because people don't have a solid base of financial education, whenever they try to self-educate, it's near impossible to know what information is and isn't important. Hence why many short-term content creators garner so much traction. It seems obvious to gravitate towards the get-rich-quick style content when you don't know any better. I also have a bone to pick with governments, financial regulators, and public bodies who are doing next to nothing when it comes to creating meaningful and interactive financial education content. It is literally their responsibility to do so. It should not be the case where I'm getting DMs on Instagram from people saying how my YouTube channel was their first experience of easy to understand finance content. I am one person in a bedroom. These are organizations with teams of people and millions to spend. But yet no one knows about these organizations nor any of the material they're producing. It comes back to the fact that these dinosaurs are failing to keep up with the pace of online content. They have no clue how to connect with the younger audience, and because of this, the younger audience is being neglected. If I was to sum up this video with one piece of advice, it would be to use your common sense when traversing the chaotic landscape that is personal finance YouTube. Be cognizant of where you choose to invest your time. You're doing well to be interested in improving your financial literacy in the first place, so you might as well go about it in the right way. Always remember, personal finance is personal. So I really do hope you enjoyed the video here today. As always, if you did enjoy the video, please do let me know in the comment section below. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.